Hey everybody, how you doing? Happy Father's Day. Welcome to the show. I think we got a lot of family activities today, so we'll go a little short today, but we're going to definitely cover parts 3 and 4 of, and I've yet to give a great name for it, but it's basically these ecom best practices, brilliant basics, the stuff you got to do before you start doing much of anything else, the things that are more important than creative testing, than all the other stuff. So it's about building a brand and starting things from the ground zero. And I'm actually, Toby, I'm working with some folks, and we're building a brand basically from ground zero. We have some inventory and whatever else, and we're going to try to get to 20 to 50,000 spend in the first month. And maybe, because we can afford that for the first 3 months because of, business loans and whatever, credit cards. And so how do we stay cash positive basically from week one all the way down the funnel? And this is the strategy that we're using. And so I wanted to share it with you guys because it's really that big. It's how do you take something from ground zero and build it up into what can be a 7-figure business in a year, as long as you have, some modicum of success and know what the products are, and you can build around some winning concepts. So anyway, last week we got into in the parts 1 and 2, which were the OneClick lander buy page, which allows people to, they see the ads, they land on the page, they want to buy, you get out of the way. You make it as easy as fucking possible for somebody to put their credit card into the machine so they can get the fuck out. We also talked about, anyway, we're going to talk more about this week, parts 3 and 4, which are Google branded search and the Instagram growth hacking. Last week we also talked about chatbots and a bunch of other things. But we're going to talk about Google branded search and Instagram growth hacking. And our homework for this week is simple to do the Google branded, is to set up a Google branded search account. We've gone in great detail in the last month or two about the Instagram growth hacking. And while I think it's absolutely vital, there's resources on that. When I'm talking to people about setting up Google branded search, it's difficult for people and they just kind of slip and it doesn't get done. So our homework for this week is to set that up. And then we're going to go into the value of it as well as the Instagram growth hacking, so that you can understand how these all kind of play in together. So I also want to thank everybody that joined the group this week. We continue to have a great amount of people checking out the new ebook. So there's 2 ebooks. Those are just best practices for a 7-figure advertiser. Like what I do as somebody that spends $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a day across multiple brands to build things up from zero, or to take successful brands and make them big. So if you want to know those things, the from how to use CBO and ethos between optimizations, and I mean, it's all in there. So I took a lot of work to try to find what is the most applicable things that have the biggest value, and I put them into those. So we now have 2 ebooks on that, as well as ebooks on retargeting and CBO and funnel construction, and there's a lot of things in there. So I think we have 8 ebooks now, and I'm working on more. We're going to try to put all of this stuff into one, and it's basically going to be like a brand builder ebook. And I might do a light version and then work on making more. And I mean, if you guys support me and think that's a good idea, I might go on to Amazon and sell these things. I don't know. But if you're in the Patreon, you don't have to pay for shit. Hi Max, hi Jerry. So anyway, I really appreciate all that. Again, check out the Patreon. The links are in the group. There's just the links to the ebooks and some other resources. Plus, there's a community of people in there that you can chat to. There's also the Slack, which is like a premium group where we can all chat together. It's kind of like a mastermind group, although I don't want to call it that because that's a term that a lot of people use to throw out bullshit, to sell things. I'm not selling shit. There's just a Slack channel in there, and there's some cost to it because we're sharing big ideas and it funds a lot of case studies. So there's case studies and best practices and notes that everybody gets from all their events. And we got Amazon guys, we got brand builder people, we got drop shippers, we got folks just trying to make things work. And we got some people in here that really love what's going on in here, and they're in there because they support it. But there's a constant set of conversation in there about how to really build things up. And I'm actually going through there over the next week with some of the members, and we're going to build Scrum docs together. We go through all the homework that we have here because they're already in there. I raise a hand who wants help getting it done this week, and I walk them through it, right? Like, it is valuable enough for me to help everybody win because the feedback that we get from that helps the rest of us win, right? So that is, not only is it a shared place where people can get direct access 24 hours a day to myself and each other, but it's also where we can, share ideas and successes. And so it's something really great to check out. In addition to that, we just have ebooks. And remember, if you do the homework, you get half off the Patreon. You get any ebook that you want, or half off of Slack, or one-on-one phone calls with me for consultation stuff. It's basically buy an hour, get an hour free kind of thing. So anyway, there's a lot of value in that. So do any of the homework and you can get it in. And let's get started with this week's homework because it's Father's Day and I want to get you all out of here sooner than later so that you can go enjoy the day. Also, I had a big show last night and I think I'm a little sniffly from it. And so let's just get this thing done, man. All right. So this week's homework is Google branded search. So in order to do this, when you set up a Google Ads account, it's just like setting up any other ad account. You go to, for Google, it's ads.google.com, drop in your credit card, some information. And what you want to do is you want to create a new campaign. And you want to create a search campaign. Now, inside of this search campaign, like on Facebook, how you have ad sets, and Google, you have ad groups. And you can build each ad group around certain keywords. And what we want to do is make sure that you've got a keyword group built around your brand name. So remember, like, say it's the Dodgers, and we're going to try to do the LA Dodgers Google branded account. What I would do if I had their brand is I would set one up where we've got Google terms for Los Angeles Dodgers, right? The Doyers, and all that good stuff. But make sure that for your brand, whether it's Morrison's Dog Food, hi, Pup. Yeah, I know. We'll go out in a minute. So it'll be Morrison's Dog Food, like whatever your brand name is. So when people see your ads all over the place, and we'll get into more of the application, but we want to put those in. That's one ad group. And another ad group, the rest of the ad groups are going to be listed by the product names for each product line that you have, right? So, for instance, this could be one for the unisex baseball hat, but this would have a name like Blue Uni or All In, whatever. The point is, say you've got Bluetooth speakers, whatever you call all your Max Boom or whatever, your actual product name. Because even if you're drop shipping, you should individually name all of your products so that somebody knows that it's yours, not something else, right? And I think I've gone before and used this example of fidget spinner as like a handheld, device, whatever. If you can, Freedom Spinners or something, if you can go in and uniquely name all of your products, then when somebody looks for it, it's easier to find. Say it's essential oils. It doesn't just have to be, whatever, lemon oil. It can be, zesty lemon oil or like, mandarin oil or whatever. That's not lemon, but you get what I'm saying. And so, yeah, like the big goal here is that your homework is to write down all of your products in each line for each ad group, and then your brand name is each ad group. And all you want to do is just protect that and set that up. If you just set it up, you don't have to spend a dime. Just set it up. Send me a screenshot of it set up, and you've done your homework for the week. And again, you get half off the Slack, half off for one-on-one. You get any of the ebooks you want. I think before I've said too, you get half off the Patreon. So if you want that, do your homework and get it. Anyway, it's scary, but it's also really fucking easy. And we're gonna get into real quick, like what the value of that is. Like, why is Google branded search so important? Also, when I say Google branded search, you should also do Bing. I know nobody fucking uses Bing, but you know who uses Bing? 50 people over the age of 55. What do people over the age of 55 have? Children, grandchildren, a shit ton of time in their hands, less technological savvy than younger folks, so they believe everything they see on the internet, and a fuck ton of money. Who do you want to sell to? People buying gifts for other folks that have a shit ton of money, that don't really understand the platforms terribly much, or that are really brand loyal and don't mind paying $20, $30 at the drop of a hat, or $50, instead of trying to convince a 21-year-old kid without a job or that's in college, where you're competing with 9 other products, that knows bullshit when he sees it, sell to a 57 or 60-year-old person that it doesn't mean fuck all to them to spend twice as much money. And if it's not for them, it could be one for a dozen other fucking people. That level of intent is what you'll see on Bing. Very low volume, very high profit margin. I regularly see like 10 to 20 to 30x return on ads on Bing. For Google branded search, regularly see 5, 10, 20x return. Now again, low volume, but whatever you sell there, you are getting, right? So anyway, that's the homework. I'm looking in, and so I was a little busy this week, so I didn't put up a lot of time for people to ask questions, but it seems like everybody's really digging into the last stuff. And I did get a couple questions on it, so I want to address those right away, and then we'll get into everything else, steps 3 and 4 of what's going on. So the first question was regarding the OneClick Buyer. Hey, Matt, with the OneClick Buying landing page was the pixel event, which is a really great question. I didn't get into that. So when the page loads, you want it to be the view content. When you hit the button, one of the things that we talked about, and one of the things we discussed, and this was a real big topic of conversation in the Slack channel, so I want to share it with y'all, is you can add to cart, or you can make it initiate checkout right there. Like, you can get it to be like, great, PayPal, done, or whatever service. And what I wanted to say was, what you can do is have, when the button is clicked, you can have that trigger the add to cart pixel, but load it straight into the initiate checkout. Don't ask people if they want upsells. Don't ask people if they want to buy more things. Don't do anything. You take over the whole screen with a payment option so that it loads as a view content pixel. And then when you hit the button, the add to cart event fires, and when the new web page loads, it's the checkout process. And that way it's, I saw an ad, I click on the ad, I land on a page with a thing, I hit the button for the thing that I want to buy, boom, the view content and the add to cart pixel are fired, and I go to a landing page where I just have to enter in like credit card info or PayPal or whatever it is, right? The payment option is done. And I'm in and out in like a minute, 2 minutes. Where this is done really well, the friction to buy is negligible. It's not there. And especially if you're providing like free shipping or something, the concerns people have when they click buy, they mean to fucking buy. It is somebody in the line, in the queue at the cash register, and they're like, okay, I'm ready. They throw their shit up on the thing, and they're like, great, how much is it? It's $32. Okay, here's my credit card, bing. And then they put it in the thing, they wait for it to say, approved, please remove card. They do that, and they're out. That's the system that you want on your website, because anything more complicated that isn't really a natural process, and will prevent people from being able to buy. So anyway, the pixel events there are really key, because you also want to make sure that you're keeping in mind the retargeting journeys that are going on. So one of the biggest issues there in queue up is people queuing their pixel events. I'm working with a brand right now where there's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of conversation about actual pixel events firing properly. You should go in and do test buys. Have the Facebook Pixel Helper on. Go hit your ad, load it up, click the button on your ad, go to the thing, make sure that it fires view content pixel. When you hit the add to cart button, it fires an add to cart pixel. And that it's simple as fucking possible to get into the where you pay money process. And that's initiate checkout and then payment ad and then purchase. Like you need those pieces in the funnel. And you need to be able to track those pieces so that with your custom audiences for retargeting, which you should be doing from day one, are there. Like you need to make sure that that piece is in line. And so many times people aren't doing that. Or they'll have multiple pixels on there. Like you don't need multiple fucking Facebook pixels. If there's multiple Facebook pixels, you're not putting your commitment into success. A lot of times it's done out of laziness or it's done out of ignorance. Like I don't know how to put pixels on. How am I going to remove or add the ones? Right? And those are really common concerns. And when that happens, like you need to go through it. It is worth your time to pay somebody to fix that shit for you. Because if it costs you a couple $100 a day in sales, how many months of a couple $100 a day in sales do you want to endure before you get your shit done proper versus just paying somebody probably more money than their time is worth to make sure that it works, because their time is there to help you make money. And that's what this is all about. So anyway, that was one question. And another question that I had was more about stuff here, was how do I find the Slack? And I wanted to say, for whatever reason, like I think it filled up, so I had to make a new one. But it's the top tier in the Patreon. So you go to the Patreon, and when you look for the tiers, the number one tier, the highest level, is the Slack channel, which gets you access to all the other things. But you click on there, and if you have any trouble with any of it, you just let me know. Hey, Yulia, how you doing? So you just let me know. And they happened because somebody was joining and they couldn't find the thing. They had done their homework and they got the 50% off link. They were trying to find it, and it had filled up. So I had to make a new batch so that we can get them in there. Because I really don't want this open to like 1,000 people. I want it to be worthwhile. Like this isn't a thing where I want 500 people in there talking and it's just basically another version of this channel. That should be a premium thing for people that really give a shit, that are really trying to make success happen, that are really have good questions, that are really trying to provide, and people that also just want to pillage all the information from people that are better than them or that want to learn. And that's really what the great use of it is. The conversations in there between the users is phenomenal. Whether it's Lynn or there's a lot of people. Court knows Court was in there for a long time, and then he had some trouble, and then he got a fucking bitching job in an ad agency, and hope to see you back in the Slack, Court. Anyway, so it's built around success, not built around like some fucking bullshit mastermind money grab for me. So take a look at it. And again, you can pop in for a month, and if you don't like it, you can leave. Yeah, so all that being said, I did want to get into the 3 and 4 for this week. So, last week, we're talking about the best practice for building a brand. It's eCom, brilliant basics shit. I know you will, Court. I just wanted to, whatever. For y'all don't know, Court and I know each other in person. We met behind a Mexican restaurant called Tequila once. We've been knowing each other ever since. He was like, I'm running a brand railed around this shit. And I'm like, I'm a digital advertiser, and we became friends. Because how often you just randomly meet crazy people like yourselves trying to make a shit ton of money on the internet. And he was doing a good amount of money. If you want to know how to drop ship some shit, or you want to know Shopify pages and shit, Court your man. Pay him for his time. You'll get it back in the first fucking week. Anyway, love you, Court. There you go. And if you need an Amazon guy, find this man, Nick Baker. He's in the group. He's crushing, and we're actually going to do this thing on his brand. There's also a couple other people. I don't want to call them out because I haven't talked to them about calling them out. But for what it's worth, we're using this system. Is now going to be run on, I think, 4 or 5 brands as case studies, where I'm putting my dollars up, right? I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And we're already seeing initial success of some really good things. I can't share it all right now. Okay, Yulia, any tips for real estate? Let's get to that real quick, and then we'll get to everything else. Because this is the Mailbag Show, and it's about me answering your questions, because that's why I'm here. So, Yulia, real estate, it's great niche to be in. It's a bit tough on the sales part because it takes so long to get a conversion, but it's really great because the people, when they make a sale, it's super high ticket item. You can't get them a higher ticket item than a fucking house, right? Here in Los Angeles, even the fucking, like a shack is like $500,000. And like a normal fucking house to raise 3 kids in is like $1 million. You know how much profit there is to sell, put in a Facebook ads person when you're selling $1 million home? I don't know what they're like in Germany, but I'm sure there's a good fucking profit margin. And I love to see that you're pivoting and you're making things work. You're like water, you're trying to make it happen. So, by the way, I'm drinking my breakfast. Give me a second. Okay. I had too many shows, and I got a recording session after this. Anyway, 3 big tips for real estate. And I learned these myself when I was working with $1 million real estate people here in Los Angeles. And there's no difference between the $1 million real estate people. Okay, she generates seller leads in EU. Perfect. Love it. I know exactly where you're at. I know exactly what you're doing. Let me tell you what I did. So yeah, I was working with some people who were actually on the Bravo show $1 Million Listing. I don't know if anybody watches it, but folks that sell $1 million homes to really rich fucking people. Agents get 7. Nice. Okay. Here in America, it's 10. But if you work with an agency, the agency splits it 5 and 5, and there's like some other money. But yeah, so there's a shit ton of margin. So anyway, the process, right? 3-step. Number 1, which you've already covered, is you're not selling the house. You're selling leads to get people into the house. This is something that I used when I used to run Nissan, is I'm not trying to sell a car. I'm trying to put motherfuckers into test drives. You aren't trying to sell a house. You're trying to get people to walk through the house, to do tours, to get their ass in the building so that they can sell themselves on it. And you're basically doing the you're getting the audience for the salesperson, the real estate agent, to sell to. You want to make that real estate agent's phone ring, their email blow up, and when they have an open house, there are people flooded day 1 to the end, and people until that place buys. Your job isn't to sell a house. Your job is to make the person that sells a house too busy that they can't worry about trying to get people in the room, right? And that's part of the things that's also in the ebook, is know what your job is. Your job is not what you're being asked to do, it's something else. So step 1, and you're already on it, which I fucking love, is your job is to get people in the building. Your job is to generate leads. Now, with that being said, what's the next piece? Next piece, how do you create interest? How do you get people interested in a property? How do you get people to want to pull out their credit card or whatever for really high ticket items, especially when it's something on this level of a car or a house? And it's informative. You have to show people why something is good for them. You have to convince somebody that's in the market already, because when it's going to real estate, you're not going to show somebody a house where they're going to be like, you know what, this house is great. Let's sell our place and move there. That's not going to happen. You have to turn people on that are in the market to make a purchase. Most people don't look for a house for more than like a month and a half. No, when you're in the market to buy a house, just like when you're in the market to buy a car, you don't wait for months and months and years. I mean, yes, it's a heavy consideration, but you're doing that thing. Like when you get your money together, when you start looking, you're trying to make it happen, because there's generally an outside reason for you to get there, whether it's the house is too small for you and the kids, or you have this giant fucking house and now all the kids have left, or the neighborhood is wrong, whatever reason, there is a motivating factor for you to leave. So when you're trying to sell the house, your content and your sales pitch isn't about getting somebody to move. It's about why this place is really good for them. And that's an often problem that I see where people are trying to say, well, hey, why don't you sell your house today and all that kind of stuff. And that's not what it is. It's you got to say, what is it about this thing? And when I've done this successfully is I've worked with the real estate agents directly. And it's like, what is it about this house? What is it about this neighborhood? What are you telling people when you come in? Because your Facebook ad, your whatever you're at, is YouTube, whatever, needs to be essentially a shorthand version of what that real estate agent is pitching, because the honest truth is a real estate agent that's selling homes for a living is a lot better at selling a house than any of us are, right? So you need to make sure that the content really speaks to what they're saying. That way also when somebody shows up, they're seeing and hearing all the same things. So the frequency of that messaging is there, so that you've primed that customer for the real estate agent, which makes their job easier. Let's see, Yulia asked, why leads should contact my real estate agent as I'm responsible for seller leads? Okay, so this is this is a great piece. Like when you're getting into this situation, a lot of times what you can do is, I will generally have like one-click lander pages for lead gen, where this is something where you, Yulia, can make a site, like whether it's ClickFunnels or anything else, where the Facebook ad leads to that site, and they go from that site to put in all their information to the real estate agent. Now, why is this important? One, it gives you personally a Facebook pixeled site that you can retarget in the future, and you can use for other listings. Like maybe this listing didn't work, but you know who is. And then you also know who's the people that follow through in the path for lead gen, so you can make lookalikes for people in the area. So you can really start to use that. Also, that means that you can take ownership of saying, I know that I sent this person to you. I've got 500 people that have clicked this thing, or I've gotten 2,000 people, I've gotten 30 people, whatever it is. You can point to a number on a thing and say that happened, and the sale came from somebody that came from me, and that I have a responsibility for it. Owning that data was the third part of this. Is that one of the biggest concerns I see is people will just have an ad that goes straight to the real estate agent. And when that happens, the real estate agent isn't really able to tell, like, is this a popular listing? Is it because I helped? Am I paying somebody? It's hard for you to define your value. And if it's hard for you to define your value, it becomes very difficult to keep the contract. Because again, you want to be able to say, hey, I sent hundreds or dozens or however many people, and of those people, how many of them, actually showed up? Like, these are questions you can be asking. And you can say, okay, who are the people that showed up? And who are the people that contacted you? And when somebody bought it, was it somebody that I sent? Because if it is, like, that's basically you showing value, that they paid you to run Facebook ads to get leads for the real estate. You sent hundreds or dozens of people through, and the person that bought came from your Facebook ad. You can point to that. On a one-day post-click, they made the conversion, and they went through your lead gen system. They're in your pixel, and you can say that specifically that was somebody that led through, because you've got their contact info on the lead gen ad, on the lead gen that came from you. Now, you can do this in one of two ways, either the standalone site or lead gen ads. I find that standalone sites tend to work a little bit better, just because lead gen ads are ads that people aren't really used to seeing. So while it's super clever and super cool, like a Canvas ad on Facebook is too, it's not so it's not as common an experience, which means it's harder to get people to take it. But yeah, so those are the pieces that Yulia says. Your value equals the amount of qualified leads. I would say yes, Yulia. It's not only the amount of qualified leads, but if you can point to that somebody purchased because of a lead that you gave, if you can point specifically to numbers, like I drove this many people, and these people, I gave you 20 people a day. Let's just, not for volume, but let's say I drove 20 people a day. Those people followed up with you, and one out of those people, maybe 20 of those people over the course of a week actually went to the house, and one of those people bought. Then you can point to a sheet of paper that says, or an Excel doc, or however you want to do it, that says you are specifically responsible for that. And what I would say is that helps for a long-term relationship, because when people are trying to sell a house, they're doing a lot of marketing efforts to get that house. Plus, it's just up for listing. Other real estate agents are going to try to make the sale as well. especially if you're buying a house, if you're selling a house, other real estate agents are trying to sell their clients your house. So it's a really messy field. There's a lot of people pushing in data. There's a lot of noise. If you can make sure that you own all of your data, you're saying, I drove this many people. I've got this hard number, and I know for a fact that this many people did it up, and then the person that bought came from my pool. If you can own that from first touch to the purchase, then you are of more value than somebody else, because it's about quality of leads, right? And about numbers. So being able to own that top to bottom, when you can own that number, it means that somebody else doesn't have to. And the honest truth is, a real estate agent's not gonna, most real estate agents aren't gonna give a fuck about where the lead came from, and they're gonna take a look and say, well, I sold the house. This is just, you're just another line item on a sheet, like putting up an ad in the paper and putting out the little signs in the neighborhood. And if they can't point to any one particular thing, you're more than likely like an experiment for them. You're something above and beyond what they normally do. And if they're selling the house like they normally do, then you're not able to quantify the value that you give them. So just what I'm saying is, if you can own all of the data, plus if you make a one-click lander to do all the lead generation, you've got custom audiences that you can retarget with other things, make lookalikes off of. And again, I feel like one-click lander is something that people are more used to dealing with than the lead gen ad. Because the lead gen ad, just while it's really awesome, it's just not something people see in their Facebook feed every day. It's kind of uncommon. So those are the things I would say. Number one, remember your job is just generate leads. It's not really to sell a house. Number two, make sure that your creative is reinforcing the things that the salesperson is going to say about the house, or about the car, or about any other high-ticket item when you're doing lead gen. And then lastly is make sure that you own all of your data so you can point to actual data sets and try to do it. Now, as far as targeting and everything else, you really have to know your market. I would say that I generally find that reach campaigns for these type of lead gen things tend to be better than conversion campaigns, because you just want to saturate your target market as much as possible, because it's really hard to know who's in the market for your product. I would also say that I pixeled the site of the real estate company and use that as retargeting, and that I'll run a fucking conversion ad as much as I can. And also Facebook has like where you can optimize for a video completion. If you can make a video about the product or about this the house where it's a real walkthrough, then, and that's like your piece of content to sell, then you can optimize people watching the majority of the video, and then Facebook very quickly will understand who the people are that are interested in watching the whole thing. And you're going to get a lot of window shoppers, but you're also you're going to weed out a lot of people that are in market to buy a house, but not in the market to buy your house. And so that's a real big piece. And I find that because you're doing very geocentric things, it's the same advice I give to restaurants for anything else. Using a reach campaign to just run home every single day. Like, you want to reach as many fucking people as possible. Using a daily unique reach campaign where you have a manual bid on the CPM and an accelerated delivery so that you're just hitting every motherfucker in that room as much as possible, as often as possible, as all throughout the days, for the cheapest fucking price. Because really, you just want to be everywhere, especially when it comes to decisions around food or cars, or when you're doing lead gen. The people that win are the people that are most commonly seen. So you have to be fucking everywhere and use multiple ads. Don't just use one killer ad. Do static, do carousels, do videos. You need to have multiple products everywhere. So when somebody is making that decision, when they're having that consideration, you're driving them home. Also, use exclusions. When somebody signed up for lead gen and they've gone through and added the lead stuff, you can exclude them from your big reach campaigns, and you can, so that you're not paying to see them. Depending on the size of your market or other things, that's more for restaurants and stuff. But bottom line is that's a big strategy that I use. And I love that you've got this thing, lead owls, so you can see how long it took to call each lead back. That's great. Just make sure that you can own your data from top to bottom. All right. Getting into the stuff for this week. Hopefully that was helpful, Yulia. Getting into the stuff for this week. First part, number 3 on the list, Google branded search. Now, we already talked a little bit in the homework about how to set up Google branded search, but we didn't talk about why it's important, why you should use it, what the effects are, and the implementation and the ethos. So we already just talked about the homework this week is to set it up. It's really fucking easy to set up. And also, if you're running services for people, it's really fucking easy to set up. So you should do that. Yulia, reach campaigns for real estate. Absolutely, hit your target market. In America, we have zip codes, but know the area around the place that you're trying to draw people to, and daily unique reach, manual bid, accelerated delivery. Put a low CPM and put as low as fucking possible until it doesn't spend your daily budget. There you go. Anyway, Google branded search. It's also a tool that you can use to make more money. If you're running Facebook ads for somebody, ask them who's doing your Google. They'll probably say nobody, or maybe they won't. But if they're saying nobody, this is something that you can add to your deck to show more value, because then you can also put this into a Scrum document saying, hey, look, it's not just your Facebook ad, it's also the Google. And when those work hand in hand, your performance is actually a lot better because of a couple things. One, Google branded search brings returns, like I said before, 5, 10, 20x is not uncommon. Very, very common to see super high ROAS numbers on it. One day post-click, super high fucking numbers. And it's because by the time somebody's seen your product, been informed by your product, they see the frequency of it. By the time they go into Google to look for it, odds are they want to buy it. Like they're just like, oh, I haven't seen that ad in a while. I really want to buy this thing, right? Which makes complete sense. That's what you go to Google for, because you know what you want. So all they're doing is closing the loop for you. So it's really, really easy. It's hard to scale spend in Google brand search because it's based purely it's based purely on demand, right? Whereas a Facebook ad for prospecting, it's really, you just type in this audience, you just blast it out. For Google branded search, it's kind of like a retargeting. This is a mid-funnel audience. This is somebody that knows who you are, that have seen something, that has impressions, that has intent to buy, and they just need to find your shit, right? So maybe they see, like, a lot of people won't even go to the website directly. They'll just go to Google, right? Like Morrison dog food, okay? Now, if you type in Morrison dog food into Google, if you don't have great SEO and a shit ton of traffic and a branded search campaign, what's going to happen is they're going to type that in, and you're going to see Amazon ads and Google shopping ads for a shit ton of dog food. The Morrison dog food doesn't mean fuck all to Google. Like, you're going to be there, but you're going to be in the fucking graveyard, which is, page 2, page 3 of Google. Nobody fucking goes that far. So you paid money to get people turned on to your brand. And then when they go to find your brand to make that sale, because they didn't want to do it that moment when they were, in the elevator or in work or driving or whatever else, where they got served your, I know I said driving, but you know what I'm saying. Some of us are terrible people. And when they weren't ready to buy then, but they have intent, they want to find the product. If you do that and then they go to Google and they look up for it, they're not going to find you. They're going to find all of your competitors. You've essentially spent money on prospecting to make sales for your competition, which is dumb. You definitely can't do that. Some people call this a Google tax or protection, but it's really, really fucking valuable. Also, one of the reasons that we said to make unique names for all of your products is that, like for instance here, Trident Layers, right? So this is strawberry and citrus gum. Now, if they just call this strawberry and citrus gum, you go to Google and you type, oh, where's strawberry and citrus gum? You're going to get 20 fucking brands of strawberry and citrus gum. But if you go in there and you type in layers, strawberry and citrus, or Trident Layers, now you're going to be hitting the branded search for the brand name, and you're going to be hitting the product name for the layers, right? So you're going to hit this and this. So now you're in 2 Google branded search campaigns. So you're owning that space. So when somebody's looking for your product, they're going to find you first because Google's going to load up with your branded search results above the organic results. And you can make sure that you are closing the loop on that sale that you might have spent $100, $1,000, $10,000, whatever it is. Probably haven't spent $10,000 that day to get it going, but you understand. You've created intent and somebody wants to buy. If you're not using Google branded search to close that loop, when somebody tries to buy from you, they won't be able to find you, and you've essentially frustrated somebody and made a sale for one of your competitors. So that's the value of Google branded search. Now, I say have Google branded search up before you start your prospecting ads. You don't want a single ad to go out where when somebody sees that ad, if they don't buy right away, they can't find you again. You need to be able to close that loop right the fuck away. And it needs to be day one, best practice. You must have it. Now, I remember I said Google branded search usually gets like a 5 or 10% or 10x return on the ad dollars, right? It is hyper fucking efficient. And this is where you do care about CPCs and other things, but really you just want to make sure that if you put in a budget, that you cannot spend that budget on a daily basis, whether it's $5 a day or $500 a day. You want to make sure when Google branded search is set up properly that you're not able to spend that money, your whole budget every day, because you optimized your bids and some other things. But you're making sure that you are going to get that sale. That when somebody looks to buy your product because you hit them up on Tapjoy, you've got YouTube ads going, you've been blasting them on Snapchat, you got Facebook ads happening, there's a community about it, you've been doing all this work, but somebody wants to buy and they don't want to wait for an ad to buy. That's where Google search comes in. And when you put that into your media mix, and oftentimes it might represent 10% of every dollar that you spend. If 10% of your dollar is coming back at a 10x, then that means you can lose money on Facebook and still have a successful business. This is where we talk about you can have your prospecting ads, your creative testing stuff come in at a 0.8 where you're losing money. But because you're closing the gap in retargeting and Google branded search and a bunch of the other things we've talked about in this piece, you're going to be in the profit. Like, you can lose 90 cents on the dollar on Facebook if 10 cents makes you a buck. And there's obviously a balance in there. But when you do the whole math, if you're just doing Facebook prospecting and Google branded search, you're going to break even if you lose 10 cents on the dollar on Facebook. If all of Facebook comes in at a 0.9, you break even. And that's because Google branded search is lifting that up. Now, if your Facebook's coming in at 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and Google branded search is in there, you're probably doubling your money. So it's really fucking valuable, and you must do this. I can't stress this enough. And it's about protection too, because one of the other things is if your brands get big enough, or if you create enough impressions, your competitors will type your brand name in as a Google search term. This is something when I was running like some laundry detergent brands, Tide would buy every competitor's search term, so that when you typed in, whether you typed in all or whatever other fucking product, I don't even know the names of it, mine was Persil. When you type that in, the first thing comes up is a Tide ad. So they're paying pennies at a time to steal all the intent that all their competitors are driving. Now, That is called non-branded search, and that's a really big thing. It's a way of prospecting on Google, and it's really valuable, but it's not part of this piece here. Right now, you just need to drop in your brand name, your product names, so that when somebody knows what they're looking for, and they're looking for you, that they find you. Put in your names and also misspell the shit out of stuff. Be lazy with it. Be lazy with spelling. And there are tools that like where you can put in like 3 or 4 words and it'll spit out like 20 or 50 misspellings and things. I don't know the names of them, but I know they exist. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But it's really valuable. And this is, again, something that is best practice you need to have day one. You really, really need to be doing it. So hopefully that helps. A couple questions. Court says, what if you have a competitor agency that gets credit for branded search campaigns? How do I prove those sales came from me? At an agency level, it's really hard for you to prove that sales came from you versus a branded search because it goes to the ethos of the CMO at the company. If the CMO at the company says, well, branded search is where the sale came from, if they're that uninformed, and to be honest, a lot of people that are really big C-level executives at big companies that are making the contracts for the agency you're at, they came up in television and Google search. They will think that that is the number one needle mover. If they're younger, or if you can convince them to saying like, hey, your Google search comes from my stuff. What I would say is point to, if you can, point to saying like, when we're spending X amount of dollars, Google branded search goes up by this much. Those people are just taking money that we drive. And if we were to shut our ads off over the weekend, their Google branded search is going to die. You need to have that correlation. And if you're running your own brand, one of the reasons that we have a Scrum Doc that you can run across multiple platforms, and again, this is one of the ebooks is on the Scrum Doc. Check it out. And if you need some help with it, join the Slack. I'll build it with you. Let's do one-on-one. I'll build it with you. I'll show you the whole process. We'll get it done. Is that you can see the value of what you're driving in top of funnel and even mid funnel and how that's affecting your search. Because the more ad dollars that you are spending, the more branded search you're going to have. If you have no top of funnel media, your branded search is going to be really fucking low. And it really is a direct relationship. I can tell that if I double my Facebook spend, my branded search goes up by 2x as well. It is directly related. So in order for you to have this conversation where you're trying to provide the value, you need to be able to tie the volume of branded search as a result of your Facebook media. And if you can do that, then, because the honest truth is, while the Google branded search guys are kind of stealing your sales, they're also responsible for that sale. The ad didn't convert the person. The ad got them to land somewhere, and then the Google branded search. And oftentimes, especially on a one-day post-click, which if there's a Google branded agency that you're working with, they're probably not measuring against one-day post-click. They're probably measuring like 7-day, and which means somebody types in the brand name, they go to Google, they check it out, they add the cart, they abandon it, your Facebook ad closes the deal, and now both of you get credit. You can push back and say, let's measure everything on a one-day post-click. That's it. And to Yulia's point here with UTMs, you can do UTM tracking to see that customer journey. What is the final thing that got them to the sale? And if you can be sophisticated enough to set up Facebook attribution, you're going to be able to see the customer journey and see what value each piece brought. When you start having a conversation about, multi-touch attribution and what's called MRR, then you're having a very sophisticated conversation with somebody that's going to appreciate that sophistication. And if you can drown somebody in numbers because you're being sophisticated and you show them that you understand that you are a part of an ecosystem and that you're a valuable part, then you personally become more valuable. So if you can't own the numbers, it's going to be really hard. What I would say is ask to measure all of your results day over day against the one-day post-click in a shared reporting platform, and so you can point to the results of your efforts and their efforts, and then say that you understand and that you're going to be working and push towards this Facebook attribution or Google 360 or something else, so that you can see the customer journey and that you can give like 30%, 40%, first touch, last click attribution to all of the impressions that are made. Now, that's not easy to do, but it's a really sophisticated answer that shows that you know what the fuck you're talking about. And when you know what the fuck you're talking about, you can get a Google rep and a Facebook rep on the phone with your dev person, and it's no longer your problem. You're just the guy that says, look, if we have these things in line, then we know how to make it done. I know how to prove the value. We're just not measuring it well enough. You guys aren't sophisticated well enough, and you're actually wasting money. You go to a CMO and provide them with the solution that's going to get them that level of insight, you're going to be invaluable. And that's part of what you're asking to do is, as an advertiser, is provide value. And a lot of times that value isn't just making the sales, especially if you're at an ad agency. Number one way of succeeding in an ad agency is providing as much value outside of the bottom dollar as you can. And then for the ad agency is when you're doing reporting, say we spent your $10,000. This is what you could have done with 12. Just increase billings constantly. And when you understand that the customer journey, you can say, well, if you'd spent instead of $10,000, if you had spent $20,000, your Google branded search would have gone up, and you actually missed out on this many sales. And that's where incorporating Google branded search really helps, because it is really valuable, and it's going to be tough. But getting back to the things here, so yeah, Google branded search. That's really it. And hopefully you can understand by these questions I'm having with Court how fucking valuable Google branded search is. Anybody that's legitimate is doing it. And it becomes an issue of, well, what's more valuable? And the honest truth is, both are. Facebook isn't more valuable than one or the other. Facebook can be far less efficient if your Google branded search is in place, because Google branded search is closing the loop on way more sales, which means you're not relying on Facebook to do all the heavy lifting. Facebook is really, really great at getting market awareness and driving intent. There are better platforms to make a sale. Google branded search is one of the best. Honestly, Bing is probably the best, just looking at profit margin, because it's stupid how much money you can make on that per dollar spent. But so I would do that one too. Maybe I'll just add that in, Google, Bing, branded search. Anyway, moving on. And this is something we've talked about kind of ad nauseum before, so I'm not going to go into it too much, because I think I said we were going to try to make it quick, and we're almost at an hour. God, remember when these were 2 hours? I should get back to that. Let me get more questions. Anyway, the fourth piece of this is, oh shit, sorry. Oh, that went down the wrong pipe. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. Oh, okay, I'm gonna survive. Oh, okay. Anyway, there we go. The fourth piece of this. Bing Chandler? Yes, Chandler Bong. Actually, before we get to this, Yulia has a question. I need to get leads who want to build a house in Italy. Look for people in Germany, so no postcode. Same strategy as before? Yeah, same strategy as before. And the reason you're going to use a reach campaign is because you're relying on Facebook to find who's receptive to that ad. That's what you really need. Is to find the people that are going to receive your ad the best, the people that respond well to it. And it's going to be tough. It's a great niche. It's a great problem to solve. I always make sure that the creative speaks very much to the type of customer that you want to drive. And that way, the people that responded to it, the people that watch all the videos, the people that engage with it, are the people that are likely to actually follow through. Anyway, part 4. And this is something that we talked about before, but we want to get into it again, is the Instagram growth hacking piece. I know that I've done this a lot, but I really want to drive it home. And the honest truth is, we get dozens of new people in here every day, right? So we need to go over these things that are kind of remedial for some, but I see, like, for me, it seems like it's remedial, but for a lot of people, like, they're brand new to it, or they've seen me talk about it, and what do we know? Is that somebody has to be told something 7 to 8 times before they hear it. So let's say it again. Instagram growth hacking tool is called instaflex.pro. I'm not going to go too deep into it because there's a whole live that we did a giant deep dive just a little bit ago. But we're going to cover the value of this and why, while it doesn't necessarily drive sales day one, it is something you should have on day one to help the value of your brand. So what is this? It's a tool that allows, at a very base level, it likes, comments, follows, and unfollows, and can send direct messages and view stories of people on Instagram at an automated level. Now, there's a lot of brands that do this in a really fucking annoying way, where they're like something and they'll comment like, hey, great picture, whether it's, a picture of your kid or like in memoriam of somebody that died. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is set up likes. Likes are the easiest thing because a like is basically just like handing out a flyer, right? Like, oh, hey, there's that brand. I got a notification. This brand liked my stuff. If it works for you, great. It doesn't work for most. It doesn't mean a lot to most people, but hey, no matter what, this brand liked my stuff. Comments are tough. I don't generally like comments because people that's trying to initiate a conversation, where likes are like handing out flyers. Comments are trying to initiate conversations with strangers, and usually that's pretty fucking creepy. Who's really fucking annoying is the person with like the clipboard outside the fucking grocery store. That's what a comment is. So I would avoid them. Follows and unfollows. These are very much akin to knocking door to door in a neighborhood, right? Like, that is what a follow is. When you follow somebody, you want them. It's like you're going around like, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I'd like you to know who I am. Here's my stuff. And they can do it at their own leisure. But as a real world example, that's what a follow does. And an unfollow is just, cleaning house. And then you can also view stories with a tool. I don't find that necessarily has much value, but higher engagements, more frequency, it can't hurt. Another facet of that tool is direct messages, so that you can direct message people. This is where we get a lot of power. The direct message can go to new followers or to any existing followers. I set up both. You can have one welcome message and then a bunch of other ones. Your welcome message shouldn't say, hey, thanks for following. Here's something. You can't introduce yourself and ask something. You have to assume the positive and ask a question, engage in a way. It's not, hey, thanks for following. Here's a link to a thing. I hope you enjoy it, blah, blah, blah. It's, like, have you joined our community yet? Or what's your favorite flavor? Or what's your favorite, I use it for my band a lot, where it's like, what's your favorite song off of the new record? They might not have even heard anything. The answer to that a lot of times is fucking nothing. The answer sometimes is, oh, what's the link? Or let me go check it out. And then you get feedback, market research. Another great one is, have you joined our chat bot yet? And you can say this in another way, but the point is, you're assuming somebody likes you. You're assuming they know who you are. You're assuming that they're engaged, and you're asking them, have they taken full advantage of your value yet? And the honest answer is that's 9 times out of 10 is going to be no. But since it's automated and you're paying a subscription of like $10 a month, and you can do hundreds or thousands of them over that period of time, 1% of like 5,000 is a shit ton more than you would have gotten otherwise. Now, the conversion rate of 1% is pretty low. Generally, depending on your brand and everything else, you can expect to 3 to 5 or 10% conversion rate, where when you send somebody that they actually engage with it. So say you're in the middle of that, say it's 5%, and you send out 200 messages a day. Well, 5% of 200 isn't a lot, it's 10, right? But 10 times a month, that's 300. That's 300 highly informed, high level of intent people that are in your CRM list. That's, if you're doing it to get somebody into your ManyChat or your chatbot or your chat kit or chat fuel or whatever, that's 300 people that essentially have the same value as somebody that purchased from you before, that's in your email chain, but they haven't purchased from you yet, so they're more likely to make a purchase right away. And those are 300 people that you can convert, that you don't need to rely on Facebook ad dollars to reach. Those are 300 people that you can turn on and make a sale to using the other tools we talked about last week for $0, for the cost of a subscription. And in ManyChat, subscription at this level is like 20, 30 bucks a month, maybe 50. And you compare this thing, you're in for under 100 bucks. And if you can, how much does it cost you to make $100 worthwhile, especially when you start to scale this thing up? Like, so you have 2 or 3 accounts you're doing this thing from, or it's just a piece to close the loop. But if you can get an incremental 50 or 100 sales a week from something, that's fucking huge, especially if you're small, especially if you're just building a brand, especially if your daily Facebook budget's like 500 bucks, 300 bucks, and then you're able to close the loop on dozens more sales every month. I mean, that's just easy money. And like I said, when we're trying to build a brand and spending $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a month, how do you go from 0 to that spend level? Part of it is you're closing the loop here, right? You've got them in your chat bot. You've got an easy landing page. You're using Google branded search to close the loop. So that's really the value of it. And I know we're at an hour here, so I don't want to go for too much longer, but what I want to say is, for these growth tools, the number one way of using them on day one is target your competitors. You can put in hashtags and account names. And I would specifically, especially if you set up a Google branded search, type in all your competitors. Who are your competitors? Type in your product name into Google. See who comes up. The people that are paying to steal a sale from you on Google are the people that have paid to have a lot of ecosystem built. They've already established an audience base. So literally type your brand name, type your product names into Google, and just everything that comes up before you, find their Instagram account, put them in Instalex, and just hammer everyone that engages with them. And the reason that this is valuable is, while a lot of people have bots and a lot of fake shit, you're only going after the people that are actively engaged. One of the reasons that like Instalex is it only goes after actively engaged people. People that have liked and commented on content from the account that you're targeting. So it's not bots. You're not wasting your time on fake traffic. And if you're selling this as a service to somebody, you can tell them that. Like, I'm not going to buy you fake traffic. We only deal with real shit. We only deal with real people. We're only engaging people that are actively on the platform, that have posted multiple times, that have liked and commented and engaged with your competitors recently. These are people that have shown an interest in the folks who you're trying to steal market share from, and they've shown that interest in the last few days, maybe last week, whatever your threshold is. And you're going to let your competitors' advertising dollars be something that allows you to steal market share from them for like, I think 13 or 15 bucks a month. In addition, this will also build up your brand equity on Instagram, because not only are you getting people that follow you and look at you and comment, but anybody that does follow you is getting direct messages, and you're getting your brand known. And if the only people that see your brand are the people actively engaged with your competitors, that's fine. Like Morrison Dog Food, right? If I were to start that up, I'd hit up every other dog food company that came up before me on Google. And then anybody that's actively engaging with them is probably somebody likely to buy dog food. That's probably a dog owner. And if I like their stuff, then it's looking like my dog food company is interested in you and your dog. And oh, by the way, I might have liked some other of this stuff. And you check me out. Now I'm getting more views. And you start following me. You start seeing my content. And if you do that, then you started getting messages from me saying like, hey, look, here's a great deal. Or if you join the chat bot, if you join the community, what do you think of what's your favorite product that we have? You're getting market research, you're getting sales, you're getting giant CRM databases and the entire fucking thing. Before you spend ad dollar number one, you're stealing market share from your competitors, and it costs you fucking $15 a month. It's really fucking hard to not make $15 a month spend profitable. If you get 3 to 5 sales a month from something that costs you $15, you should at least break even. If not, maybe you need to adjust your margins. But if you're using it as a force multiplier for all these other efforts, you're going to get known by your target market. You're going to be seen, and it's going to reinforce all of your other media because they're going to see you on Facebook. They're going to look for you on Google and you're there. And oh, by the way, now like this person's engaging with me on Instagram and like I'm seeing them everywhere. And it's not just me, but it's also my friends. Like everybody that I talk to is seeing the same thing. Everybody at the dog park is hearing about it. This is just like closing the loop on ads and bots. And I would say to anybody that's not doing this, that's spending money elsewhere, you're not doing your best job. And just like we talked about, and we'll go over again, Tapjoy next week and other things, and creative testing, those are the last two pieces. These are all things that need to be done day one. And this is how we can build a brand from zero to thousands of dollars in sales without having to rely on thousands of dollars of Facebook ad media. Because the honest truth is, you need to have all of this shit set up before you start worrying about your lookalike campaign. Because your Facebook lookalike campaign or your interest groups or your broad targeting, your CBO is a problem that you address after all of this stuff is done. I would say it's like that's fuel for the car, right? Which is awesome. You want to talk about what's the best fuel for your car? I mean, I drive an EV, but whatever. The best fuel for your car. That's a great conversation to have after you put an engine in the car, after you've built the fucking thing, after you've got tires, after you have seats and seat belts and gauges. Like, the fuel for the car is a fucking luxury item that happens way down the road. Your Facebook prospecting is a luxury item that happens way down the road. Because you need to have all this other shit set up. So that's it, everybody. I said we were going to be quick today. We did 1 hour and 10. I love you. And I'll see you soon, I'm sure. Direct message me, hit up the Patreon, hit up the Slack. Hit me up for one-on-ones. I haven't had a one-on-one in like a week. And I got more time. So let's do it. The most common things we do on these one-on-ones is set up Scrum docs and establish business goals and really start to look over the quality of the customer journey. If you just get that shit together, I mean, we can also build out these 6 things. We can probably build a Scrum doc and all of these 6 best practices in 2 one-on-one calls. Do your homework and get that shit for half off. Then you're only paying for 1. Anyway, if I were you, that's what I would do. And I guarantee you Tim Birds, Nick Shacklefords, and Ezra Firestones, and all the gurus of the world that really know their shit, that don't care about you, aren't going to give you that. I really know my shit. I ain't selling fuck all, but if you want some access, I'll give it to you. Let's make some shit happen. Other than that, there's a great chat thing that Nick is doing here in LA. I'm going there with some of the group members are actually going to be there. And if you are there, please come and bother me and say hello. It's about more incremental things. So maybe I can steal some stuff from that and add it to this best practice talk. Until then, happy Father's Day. Call your dad. Say you love him. Love you. All right. Bye.